Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Continue with Sinboot tutorial series. In this video, I'll teach you how to handle exception using Sinboot in the right way. By understand how to handle exception is very essential and very important that you should know and be aware of when you're building application for more effective. If you like this video at the end, be sure that give me a thumbs up and also click on the subscribe button so that I can continue create other contents like this and not just only about Zinboot tutorial but other tutorial and other topics as well. Don't want to waste your time more. Let's kick off this video. Within IntelliJ in here, I have the BC admin and also the Postgres database is running on Docker and also I have this API request that include the get mapping for the get customer from the database and the post mapping for create a new customer and also I have the put mapping in here to perform the update customer information and the last one is delete mapping for delete customer within the database. This API is done on the video of how to build in REST API with Postgres database running on Docker. In case you're missing that video, I will put the link under the description of this video so that you can check out along before you go to this video. Just for now, if I go to the customer service, let's close this one and the project tab as well. In here, within the Create Customer method, we have the business logic is that we find the customer by email from the email create customer request and we check that if the customer by email is present in the database or not. If this customer is present, then we throw the exception in here because the email must be unique that belong to each customer. So now we have a conflict situation in here so that we throw the exception. So and if that's not the case, then we should only create a new customer and we save the customer in the database. To show this case more clearly to you, let's start the application. Now let's have a test on the Postman. With the post request in here, I would like to create a new customer and then in the get request, click on send. So now we have one customer present in the database is Leon Lee with the email is leon@gmail.com. If I go back to the post request in here and I would like to create another customer, the name is Leon and the email will be the same as customer Leon Lee with the value is leon@gmail.com. Now if I click on send, this should throw the exception for us. So now we receive the error response. This is the response by default from input in here. As you can see, we have the timestamp. The status code is 500 and the error is internal server error in here. And the last one is path is API v1 customer. But the most important attribute doesn't include in this object in here is message attribute to know what kind of the message is server respond for us. Let's go back to the IntelliJ and if I scroll up, so as you can see the message is the email leon@gmail.com unavailable. But the thing is this message just present in the log of the application only. We need this message to be included in the error response in here. And also we need to have a better status code to represent business use case exception. Let's go ahead and handle this use case. To able handle this use case exception, there is a couple ways to include the message and also the HTTP status code into the error response to resolve this use case. And the first option is let's go to the application.yaml file and under the server attribute, add this attribute error include message is always. Let's restart again. Back to the Postman. Before, we do not have the message attribute include the error response in here. Now if I click on send of the post request, so now you can see here we receive the message attribute that include the error response object in here. But let's have a look on the static code is 500 and the error is internal server error. And this static code is the exception from the input. We don't want this. What we want is to respond a better static code related to our business exception that we return back to the client. Let's moving on and implement a better static code for our business exception. Back to the IntelliJ. Let's close this one. Open the customer service and instead of runtime exception, I would like to change it to response status exception in here and it provide for us the HTTP status code. Let's type HTTP status dot conflict in here. Is for our business logic exception is chat email use case. Now you can see here we have the HTTP status and also the message as well. Okay, cool. Let's restart the application again. So now, before we receive the status code E500, if I click on send to create a new customer request, so now you can see here we successfully receive the status code Z409 stand for conflict in here and also the message that include in the error response. So now our application has the exception that return back to the client. So now our exception can display the message and also adjust the static code in the response object back to the client. But there is one point I want to mention to you is, and in here you can see that we throw the response status exception and the name is very generic class name. We only know the root cause of this exception thus via the HTTP status and also via the message as well. From my opinion, we should use a better name to indicate for the case of our business exception. By doing this way, our code will more durable and easy to understand the root cause of the exception and also easy for maintenance as well. To do that, the first thing I would like to do is create a package and the name is exception. And under this package, let's create a class, for example, customer email unavailable exception. And this class would be extend runtime exception. And in here, I would like to create a constructor with the message parameter in here. To able adjust the HTTP status code, just follow above the class. Let's mark the annotation is response status and the value of it is HTTP dot conflict in here. Let's go back to the customer service. So instead of response status exception, let's change it to our customer email unavailable exception in here. Let's remove the HTTP status code in here. So now we have a better name of our business exception is that customer email unavailable exception and the message is indicate that the email is unavailable. Okay, let's rerun again. Go back to the Postman. Now if I click on send to create another customer leongmail.com in here, click on send. So as you can see here, we also receive the same result after we create a custom exception. So this is just the basic option to handle exception that you can go with. But what if the case that the client needs to receive, for example, more information or custom error exception response not come from the default one from the input in here? Let's go ahead and try to perform our custom exception object response. Within IntelliJ, the first thing I would like to do is in the exception package, let's create a class is API error response. So this class will be our custom error response in here. And I would like to have some attribute, private HTTP status in here, and also the message as well. And I would like to have the path and also API in here. So this API attribute will represent the API method when the client call, and the last one is timestamp in here. Okay, next let's generate the constructor and also for the getter setter as well. So okay, cool. Now this is our custom API error response. And the next thing I would like to do is under exception package, let's create another class, global exception handler. So this class is represent the centralized exception handling for the business logic of the exception across our application in here. Let's create a method to handle customer email and available exception in here. Let's type public response type is API error response. The exception we want to handle is handle customer email unavailable exception. Then inside it we pass the exception. Also for the pass we also need to put HTTP servlet request in here. And the last one is handler method. And let's close project tab. Inside this method, I would like to do is API response equal to new API response, and you can see it took the parameter is HTTP status conflict in here, and also the message is took from our email unavailable exception, and also for the path is request dot get request UI, and the API is method dot get method get name, and the last one is zone datetime dot now, and then simply return API error response. But to able make this class is handle exception globally across our application, we need to mark the annotation is on top of this class is REST controller as file, and also exception handler, and inside it we pass the customer email and available exception class. And also in the method we need to have the response status in here. We also put the HTTP status is conflict. Let's restart the application. So go back to the Postman, and before we have this default exception from the input. Now if I click on send to a new customer in here with the same email, so now you can see that we have our custom error response object in here with the HTTP status is conflict, and also the message, the path, and the additional attribute is the API to represent the API that the client call. And the last one is also timestamp in here. Go back to the IntelliJ, close this one. I want to open customer service. Now we already handle the exception within React customer method. Let's go to with the update customer method in here. There is two exception also need to do refactor in here. Let's go ahead and do that. Now within IntelliJ, let's refactor on the update customer method because this method has some exception need to handle in here. The first one is we have the runtime exception indicate that customer with IDs are not found. Let's do a refactor for this runtime exception class in here. So instead of runtime exception, I would like to change it to customer not found exception. So for the case if you have more model like user or order, for example, you can rename it to entity not found exception. To more generic based on the model, we still understand the root cause of this exception is not found exception. But for my case, let's create a customer not found exception in here, and let's put this exception under exception package, and let's change it to message. Also extend runtime exception, and inside this constructor I will simply call super in here and we pass the message inside. Now go back to the global exception handler, and under this method let's create another one. Simply let's copy all of this and paste it in here, and we just only change to the exception handler is to customer not found exception. I would like to close the project tab, and instead of the conflict we need to change it to HTTP status not found in here, and also for the response status as well, and this method name in here. So now okay, cool. Let's go to the customer service. Okay, we already changed it from runtime exception to customer not found exception, and in the chat email logic in here, this is the same with the React customer method. So simply copy customer email and available exception and paste it in here. So okay, cool. Let's rerun again. Within Postman, let's go to the push request in here. I would like to update the customer number 5, and the email is leon@gmail.com. Click on send. So now you can see for the business logic chat, the customer not found already resent for us in here. HTTP status not found. The message, the API is from update customer in here. So now if I go to the post request and I would like to change to, for example, Larry, and the email is larry@gmail.com. Click on send. Now go to the get request, click on send. So now we have two customer in here. I would like to have a test of the customer and available exception in the update customer API. Would like to update the customer number 1 with the email is larry@gmail.com in here. Okay, go to the push request. Let's change it to customer number 1, and the email is larry@gmail.com. Click on send. So now you can see it's also returned for us the correct business exception as we define here with the HTTP status is conflict, the email Larry unavailable to update, and the path is also confirm the update customer. Go back to the IntelliJ. Now currently we have 3 business exception in here. we have for both the customer email unavailable exception for the create customer method and update customer method as well. And also we have one exception is customer not found exception in here. And for all of these exceptions is handled by this global exception handler in the business logic of our application. If any customer email unavailable exception or other customer not found exception occur, then all of these exceptions will be handled as one place by the global exception handler in here. And this option is the best practice in the real world that you can use. Let me explain again. So we need to create our custom API error response and then go back to our business logic and we create our custom exception in here and we test this custom exception and we put global exception handler. We create a method and then we pass the exception we want to catch in the exception handler and then we create a new API error response object and we just simply return this object in here. Okay, so there you go. Now you know how to handle exceptions using Spring Boot. If you have any question, go ahead and drop me a message and let me know your thinking in this video by type the comment below. If you like this video, be sure that give me a thumbs up and also click on the subscribe button so that I can continue create other contents like this. And once again, not just I cover on Spring Boot tutorial but other tutorial and other topics as well. That's all for now. Thanks for watching. Catch you in the next video.